Hi everybody, it's time. It's finally here. The Block of the Month Blitz class to make this beautiful Block of the Month quilt with me, Kimberly Einmo, and Janome. And we are so happy you've chosen to spend some time with us here in my home, in our studio. It's our home, our studio. Mr. Kim is here and he's going to say hello. And Mr. Kim, we have a lot of new people that are joining us right now. I'm going to ask you to turn that camera around just to say hi to everyone so they can put a face with the name. His real name is Kent, but we call him Mr. Kim. He's well known in the quilting industry, in the sewing industry as Mr. Kim, but not the Korean Mr. Kim, just Mr. Kim, short for Mr. Kimberly, I guess. So can you turn around and say hi to everyone?
Yeah, but instead of flipping the camera around, I'm going to hit the flip on the screen itself.
That's fine.
So everybody be prepared. Don't get dizzy. There we are. Hi, everybody. It's me.
He's doing our camera today, and Cheeto is here. He's already in his spot, ready to go. Cheeto is Janome Cat, so you can follow him on Instagram. He has tons of followers. He's in good form. He's finally gotten better from the little sickness he had last week. I'm just giving everyone a chance to kind of get logged in here to join us. Today is going to be an awesome day in the studio. Let me just say, starting right off, we are so glad that you are here spending a couple hours with us. We've been preparing really hard to get everything so it's going to be a smooth, fun, relaxing experience. I just want you to feel like you're here in the studio with me, like we're just talking, your machine is set up across from mine, and we're just sewing away together. That's the goal. And we just want to be a blessing in your life. We want to provide a couple hours of some fun and relaxation and a chance for you to learn some things and get some sewing done. So I hope you have your favorite beverage. I've got my iced tea here ready to go. I mean, this is just going to be fun. And I want you to know, no matter what your skill level, you are in the right place. Whether you're a beginner or advanced, you're in the right place. This is the no stress zone. Okay, there's no stress in my classrooms ever. This is meant to be fun. We're going to be working on 3 blocks today. This is block number 1. This is block number 2 and block number 3. And that's what we're going to accomplish today. That's why we're calling it the Block of the Month Blitz class, because it's not just one block at a time. We're doing a couple at a time, and we've already gotten the go ahead to schedule another class for the next couple of blocks, and we will be releasing information about that this week. Again, it's all free, so here's what I'm going to ask you all to do. First of all, give me a thumbs up or a heart if you're glad you're here, and Mr. Kim will be watching those go by and telling me. But here's what I'd also like you to do. Hit the share button. There's a little share button right there on your screen. I'd love for you to share this with your friends. You know, later you can go back and watch this. If at any point during the day you need to go back and have a refresher about how to use the rulers or what we're doing, this class is going to go right on this website, and you'll be able to watch it again and again to get caught up. You've got a couple weeks to finish all 3 blocks, but I think a lot of you are going to finish these 3 blocks in class today. It's that easy. I'm going to make it easy for you, walk you through step by step. We're going to talk about so many things. So are we getting any thumbs up yet or any hearts?
Oh, just 1 or 2. Actually, they're going so fast I can't even count them.
Oh, that's good. He's mean. All right, so we're just going to pan around. Since you're here joining me in the studio, I just want you to see where we are. This is the front room of our home. I commandeered it for the studio. Yes, the front door is right behind me, and it's not a big space. It's actually only 300 square feet. But you know what? Here's what I want you to know. No matter where you are, no matter what your sewing space looks like, a dining room table, a guest bedroom, a basement, a closet. I've sewn in closets before. No matter where you are, take that space and make it your own. Make it your happy place. That's what this is about. That's what sewing is about. It's a respite. It's a place where you come to just restore and refresh your soul. And you know what? if quilting or sewing is stressful, you're doing it wrong. I love that quote. I kind of came up with that because it should be just fun and relaxing, and we are so glad you're here. So let's move over to the cutting table, and we're going to dive right in, and you can ask questions, post questions, and also if you have a chance, post where you're watching from. We'd love to kind of see where you're coming in from around the country and around the world. So Mr. Kim, you want to follow me over to the cutting table?
You bet.
All
just
right.
to let you know, we've
Yes.
got people, I've seen just about almost every state in the Union, and we've got New Zealand, South Africa.
Oh my gosh.
We've got Netherlands.
Thank you for joining us.
Great Britain.
I'm just so tickled. Okay, so we're going to move over here, and I want to also ask, we have been really experimenting with different mic setups. Can you hear Mr. Kim better today than during the sew along or some of the live events? We've come up with a different miking system. We've been practicing this and working on it. Can everyone hear us both equally well? We're hoping there's going to be no glitches or anything today, and we're really trying to up our game every time we do this and make it better and better so the experience is better for you, because we just want this to be fun and stress-free. Anyone seeing anything about hearing Mr. Kim okay?
So far, because of the delay, they haven't come through and said one way or the other.
All right, that's all right. So we are going to jump right in. A lot of you already have your kits, correct? But I know a lot of you have them on order through your Janome dealer. Even if you're joining and you don't have your kit yet, that's okay. Still watch. We have a link later that we can give you to put you in touch with where you can get the kit sent to you. We want everyone who wants one to get a kit. And the kit comes with the 3 rulers. These are my 3 signature rulers: the Precision Pre-Cuts ruler, the Precision Jelly Roll ruler, and the Precision Flying Geese and Half Square Triangle ruler. And I'm going to be walking you through how to use every single one of these rulers and how easy it is. So I'm just going to put those aside. The other thing you will get in your kit, or if you already had the rulers, you could get just the Jelly Roll. This is my Solidish fabrics through Timeless Treasures. They're beautiful blenders, and you can see how good they look in the quilt over there. And of course, you can use any color background that you want. You need 3.5 yards of any background. That's all you're going to need. One design roll and one background fabric of 3.5 yards. The other thing you would need, and if you already did it, great, but if not, it's okay. I'm going to walk you through it. You would need the instructions, and these are absolutely free. Thank you, Janome, for making these available. They're at janome.com, right on the home page. You go there and you download them, and there's quite a few pages because you're going to need them for each of the blocks. There's 12 blocks plus the little asymmetrical border of flying geese, so really 13 installations of different things that we're going to be doing. And you would want to print this out, and after today I'm going to 3-hole punch this and put it in a folder, and maybe you could do that too, just to keep them straight. So we're going to need the rulers, the instructions, the jelly roll, your background fabric. And are there any questions coming in? Are we getting any feedback yet?
Oh, a lot of people have talked about how well the sound is now, so that's
great.
Good.
Oh, we worked so hard to work that out.
The Janome team is doing a good job of keeping up on any of the questions that are coming through so far.
Excellent. Okay, so let's dive in because we have 2 hours, 3 blocks to make, no stress, but we have a lot of ground to cover, and I have a lot of tips and tricks to share. I just like to make it fun for people, and really I'm picturing you sitting right here in my studio, and we're just chatting and having some fun, and we're getting ready to sew. So if you can follow along with what you're doing at your cutting table, great. So the first thing I just want to talk about a little bit are the rulers, all right? This one is the Precision Flying Geese and Half Square Triangle ruler. And Mr. Kim, if you can come over here and zoom in on this. It's got 2 colors and 2 sides. Can you see that? All right, side A is in magenta pink, and you can see all the words and numbers on the ruler. You can also see a little flying geese unit right in the center here, actually on the left, with the center triangle all colored in magenta. Now, when you're using side A, you would be using this to cut your strips. You would be getting this center triangle. That's a 1/4 square triangle, and we'll talk more about that later on. And the other thing I want to tell you is if for some reason you lose the directions, first of all the directions for using the ruler are actually in this pattern. You just have to go a couple pages into the pattern, and everything you need to know about using the ruler is listed right here with great diagrams. So I'll be showing you how to use it to cut strips, and we're just using our 2.5-inch strips, but everything is right here, all the instructions for using the ruler. I just wanted you to know that's where they are, not to worry, but I'm going to explain briefly. So the magenta side, cut your quarter square triangles, and you will see that it says finished size of flying geese and then all these numbers. Well, we'll get to the flying geese, but not today because I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information. Today we're just going to be using it for making half square triangles because that's what we're using in block C. So I'm going to flip this over to side B, and I'm going to use this fabric so it shows up real well for the camera. Can you see now that side B is in mint green? I chose the colors of magenta pink and mint green for breast cancer and ovarian cancer awareness because I really love being women's health issues conscious. But now you'll see that side B is in mint green, and all the words and numbers of side A in the pink are upside down. So you'll see a little half square triangle unit here and a little flying geese unit here with the side triangles colored in. When you're using side B of the ruler, these are the units you will be cutting. And we'll get a lot more into that in a moment, but I wanted to explain. Oh, and we have a question.
Yeah, somebody asked a really good question. They happened to notice that you have a lint roller on the cutting surface here.
Yeah, we're getting there. That was a good one. And I will be showing you what we're going to do with that lint roller in just a few minutes. So for now, I just want to put over here. No, we're going to talk about these other rulers real quick. So this is the Jelly Roll ruler, and I'm going to put it on the white. There we go. This shows up much better there. This is a 2-color ruler, and you'll notice that there are mint green lines and black lines. Now this is just a regular ruler. It's 5 by 10, which makes it perfect for working with pre-cuts. But you'll notice that I have these different lines in mint green. You want to know what those are for? Those are for all the most commonly cut sizes that you tend to cut over and over and over again. So when I was first starting to work with pre-cuts 10 years ago, I noticed that you cut the same units repeatedly. You cut 2.5-inch squares, you cut 2.5 by 4.5-inch rectangles, you cut 1.5-inch by 2.5-inch rectangles. There's just units that get cut a lot. The other thing I noticed about working with pre-cuts is you don't cut 7/8 or 5/8 or 3/8 inch increments at all. So I removed all the 1/8-inch lines from the ruler. And you know why? Because they kind of clutter everything up, and I want everything to be clear. Now at that time, my eyes were going bad. I've since had them lasered, so I'm doing better. But at that time, I really couldn't see real well. Hey, Cheeto Puff! Here's Cheeto. He's here to say hi to everybody. And at the time, I noticed I was working late at night because our boys were young and I was doing the mom's taxi thing, and I wasn't getting to the cutting table until 9 or 10 o'clock at night after homework was done and they were in bed. And I noticed my eyes were tired, I couldn't see, and I wanted a way to cut accurately at a glance. And these rulers will do that. You'll see as we go along how easy it is to use, and the Precision Pre-Cuts ruler is just the Jelly Roll ruler on steroids, meaning it does more. It's the same concept. All the 1/8-inch lines are removed. You can see all the 1/2 hole and 1/4-inch lines. And then in the mint green, it's all the most commonly used cuts that we're going to use to make this quilt. So using these rulers makes it super quick, fast, and easy to cut accurately without having to search for the measurements that you're looking for. They kind of reveal themselves to you, and you'll see that as we go along. So that's what I wanted to explain about these rulers, and I think you're going to love them, and they're going to be your go-to rulers. Now my little press over here is telling me it needs to be turned on again and kept hot, so I just heard the buzzer, and we're going to be using that in a little bit. So now it's time to talk about this lint roller. And somebody had a really good eye, and you're going to love this tip. You really are. So Mr. Kim is an engineer, And you just need to know that going into this because this really involves him. Have you ever, okay, first of all, let's have a show of hands or a thumbs up. How many of you have never used a jelly roll before? All right, you may have bought them, but you never used them. Any thumbs up out there? Like you've never untied the bow, right? Okay, those are some, I'm so glad you're here because you all are jelly roll virgins and today is gonna be the day. Okay, lots of people. But here's the thing, if you have used these before, what you will notice is that when you do untie the bow, no matter what brand they are, they have fabric crumbs that go everywhere, especially over your clothes, on your floor, on your mat. There's just all this lint. And a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to use the pre-cuts because of the lint. Well, my engineering husband told me that if you use a lint roller, one of these sticky tape lint rollers, and you use it on the front and the back, real good, before you untie the bow, watch this, all right? You're gonna love this. He's showing you his thumbs up. Look at this. Before you untie the bow, it reduces lint emission by 82% in your sewing room. How many of you love that? Okay, so that's what you want to do. You want to use, if you want to reduce the lint emission, you want to make sure that you use a lint roller to get rid of a lot of the crumbs before you untie the bow. Can everyone see that? I mean, that's a lot of lint emission. We like to have a lot of fun around here. He makes me laugh every single day. All right. So I'm going to leave this one tied up all pretty because I've already got my strips ready. But the next thing we want to talk about are those little pinked edges. Now, a lot of you may wonder, why do they pink the edges on these rolls? And all the manufacturers do it. I haven't seen any recently that don't pink the edges anymore, unless maybe it's a batik. It's because these bundles fray easily. And in a shop, once they're all frayed, nobody wants to buy them. So they pink the edges to keep the fraying down, which makes sense. You'll also notice that, and I don't want you to let that keep you away from enjoying the fun and practicality of using a jelly roll, all right? Because they are powerhouses, pint-sized powerhouses of design potential. Let's say that for alliteration. But you'll notice that every jelly roll comes in a little bit varied sizes. Most of them are 2.5 inches. Some are a little bit larger these days. Some I've seen recently are up as like 2 5/8 inches wide. And you can use them, the strips, just like this, all right? Just with the pinked edges. But I want to show you a way over here, if you can come around, a way that you can trim these up and get rid of the pinked edges and make them ready to go so they're perfectly sized. Because the more accurate you can be in the beginning, the easier it is when you put your units together. So cutting accuracy is very, very important. So when you have these strips, they should look just like this. This one's folded over, and I'm using black because I think it will show up real well when I show you a quick demo. And you think, wow, I don't want to take the time to do this. And you don't really have to. It's your choice. But if you're someone who really wants accuracy, what you would do is take this strip and fold it in half again, like this. So now there's 4 layers. And you want to lay it out. And I do use the lines on my mat to help me. And now I'm going to take my precision pre-cuts ruler and I'm going to lay it right down. Oh, look here. Do you see what that is? That is your 2.5 inch line right there. It even says 2.5 inches. And this is exactly what your strip should measure. And if you want to true it up so that it's even more exact, here's what we're going to do. And I left my cutter all the way across the table, Mr. Kim. I'm so sorry. Thought I had everything all set. Okay. Now, don't panic when you say, I don't want to have to trim up 40 strips. First of all, I wouldn't trim them all up in one time anyway. Just kind of trim them as you go if you want. Only a couple at a time. But here's the thing, even if you did trim all 40 at once, it can be done in about 25 minutes of watching Days of Our Lives. Ask me how I know this. You know, any show that you enjoy watching, even to do all 40 at once doesn't take very long. You can get it done in under a half hour. Now, I don't want you to do that right now with all 40. Just maybe if you want to for the ones that we're working on, or just go back and do it later, or don't even worry about it today. But I want to show you this trick so that if before we meet next time you want to get your strips trimmed exactly, this is what you would do with the ruler. So now I want you to come in, and I've got this so that I can see the pinked edges sticking out of this side of the 2.5 inch line. Can you see right here? It's kind of sticking out beyond. And I've got the pinked edges sticking out over on this side right here. Okay, and now watch what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hold the ruler in place, and I'm sorry that it is a little bit awkward, but just trim this side like this and get rid of the, are you ready for the technical term for this? Schmutz.
I knew it.
Get rid of the schmutz. All right. Then very carefully spin the whole unit around. All right. Lay the ruler back on top. Now you want to cover the raw edge with the mint green line. Do you see how the raw edge covers, the mint green line covers the raw edge of that strip you just trimmed? These little mint green lines are just a smidgen wider than the black ones, and I did that on purpose with the acrylic guy because I want, how it works is if you can cover the raw edge of your fabric with the mint green lines on the ruler, you are cutting 100% accurately. And it's very, very easy to see, and you don't have to work real hard. So if your eyes aren't perfect, it works beautifully because the ruler does the work for you, and it's crystal clear and easy to get accurate cuts. So now we're going to just trim off the other side, and no kidding, that's all you need to do. See that? Get rid of the schmutz, and now we have an absolutely brilliantly perfect 2.5 inch strip all the way down. See that? Okay, so now you have a little trick for how to trim up your strips if you don't like those pinked edges or you want just more accuracy. And I will get rid of the schmutz so we don't get it on the rest of our cutting.
You could have used the lint roller.
I could, yes, I could. I need to probably, oh hey, Mr. Kim, that works brilliant.
Actually, somebody put a comment, I keep it there to clean off my cutting mat.
That's so perfect, yes.
I can't take credit for that one.
Well, whoever put that comment in, thank you so much. All right, so now let's dive in. Are you all ready to start cutting your strips? Let's turn in our handouts to, I'm going to put my rulers aside for the moment, and you will be needing the jelly roll or the precision pre-cuts ruler coming up. So keep that handy, either one will work. And let's turn into our pages here. You can see I've got diagrams showing how to use the ruler, and keep this handy. Okay, this is your legend of fabrics to go with your solidish jelly roll. And even if you're somewhere in the world where you didn't get this jelly roll, don't worry, use any 2.5 inch strips you happen to have on hand. We just want you to follow along. Okay, so just use what you have, and that's true of all of quilting. Don't let the worry and fear that you don't have what's good enough. Use what you have and join in the fun. Don't think you have to have perfection. Nobody has perfection. Use what you have and don't worry about it. All right, so here we're going to turn over to this page, and the pages aren't numbered, but this is the first page showing the first 4 blocks. We're going to be concentrating on the first 3 blocks today. And it tells you it's block A and what ruler that you will need for this block. Okay, in this column it says rulers needed, and then over here what we're going to cut. We're going to start with our background fabric, so you'll need 1 2.5 inch strip of your background fabric. So go ahead and get that cut. I'll kind of talk through it a little bit while you're doing it. So go ahead, cut your background strips, just 1 or 2 of your background fabric into 2.5 inch squares, 2.5 inch strips right now. And the next thing you want to sort through your jelly roll and pull out the following. You're going to need 1 strip of your citrus, your green, your fuchsia, your stone, azure, orange, lemon, mint, violet, rust, magenta, sapphire, and grape. Now that sounds like a lot. Don't worry if you just kind of go through. Keep your little legend handy because that will show you what the color looks like, and pull those out. Don't worry if they're not all trimmed up right now. We're just going to start cutting some 2.5-inch squares. And we're going to go just at a moderate pace. Please don't stress if you feel like you're falling behind. You will have a couple of weeks to go back and watch this through again. You can hit the pause then later when this isn't live, and you can follow along and do what you need to do to get caught up, okay? So no stress, this is all good stuff. And you want to start pulling out, if you're cutting those background strips, I have 2 cut already here. I only need 1 for right now. All right, and I'm going to show you every quick technique for cutting that I can while still maintaining accuracy. It's very, very important that you maintain your accuracy. So if you've cut your strips from your background fabric, if you have your iron or your press handy, you might want to go ahead and give it a quick press just to make sure it's nice and flat. I love my Elna press. I use it all the time. I confess that the periwinkle blue just matches my walls perfectly, but they come in 4 different styles and price points. And we're going to be talking more about the press, but I wanted to just give this a nice press to get it beautiful and flat. This thing has been a total game changer in my arsenal of quilting tools. Now, once you have your background strip doubled up, this is folded in half, all right? I cut it selvage to selvage. I want you to take it and fold it in half again, just like this, just so the fold goes over the selvage edges. Now again, you want to line up your strip right on the lines on your mat. And if you ever had a teacher tell you don't use the lines on your mat, don't listen to them. It's crazy. Always use the lines on your mat. If you're worried that they're not accurate, all you need to do is take any ruler, put it on top of the lines on your mat, and they will disappear. Watch this. Do you see the yellow lines underneath this? Once I line them up, oh, look, the yellow lines completely disappear. So you know the mat is accurate. Unless it's a super old mat or it's been in the back of your car on a hot day and it's warped, your mats should be accurate and ready to go. So now that we have our strips here and I've lined it up on the line on the mat, can you move in and get close to this now, Mr. Kim? All right, we just want to trim off the fold and the selvage edges. So I'm just lining the ruler up with the lines on the mat on this line right here, and we're just going to cut this off. And if I was, had a staff, I'd throw this over my shoulder and they'd pick up after me later. But I don't have a staff.
Pick me.
So anyway, I'll just kind of toss it. Oh, here, we'll put it in my little basket here. And I don't know if you're new to watching me. I've been doing these fun little projects during my Facebook Lives, and you can catch them on the Janome Sewing Machines page. They're already posted. And this was a done before dinner project upcycling the pant leg of my jeans, or actually Mr. Kim's jeans. And we did some decorative stitching. So that's what I used for putting things in. All right, now back to our strip. This is our background. This is also giving you all a chance to kind of catch up. And we're going to start cutting because we have to kind of keep moving forward. I'm going to lay either the Precision Jelly Roll Ruler or the Precision Pre-Cuts, either one will work, right on the corner so that I'm a right-hander, so my strips should be laying to my right. If you're a left-hander, you want your strips laying to your left or possibly straight out in front of you if you're a left-handed cutter. But for you right-handers, your strips should lay to your right, and you start on the left side and you cut down from left to right just like you read. Now, do you see the lines here, the mint green lines right here and the little 2.5? That's one of those most commonly cut sizes. So we want to line this up with the edge of the strip so that the edge of the fabric disappears under those mint green lines, and then we cut. There is 4 squares cut and ready to go. Now we move this over. We line it up on the last edges. We're going to line this 2.5 edge line on the ruler with the edge of the fabric, and we're going to line it up on the last edge that we cut. We're going to cut again. That's another 4. And guess what? We only need 12 for this block. Ready? Here we go. We're done. That's how easy it is. we need 12 2.5-inch squares of your background fabric for block A. So now we're done with this. We can put away our background fabric for now. That's all we need for this block. Just set it aside. We will come back to it for the next block, but for now, let's just keep ourselves neat and tidy and put this aside for the moment. And now maybe you've had a chance to root through your strips and pull out some of those colors. And I literally have laid them in order of how they are on the instructions, as far as, you know, you don't have to do that. I've done it just to keep it straight, just so you can see. And what I've done is I've put 3 strips in each pile, all right? You do not have to cut 6 at one time. You can cut 4 at one time, meaning I have this strip and it's doubled over. There's two layers here. Here's another one with 2 layers. What am I doing? That was for when I was doing step outs and I needed extra of each. We only need 1 layer of each of these because we only need 1 square. Forgive me for that. Boy, because I've been doing a lot of work getting prepared for this class, so I've been cutting a lot of extras. All right, so we're just opening these up and layering 1 of each at a time. Now I've got 3 layers, okay? I've got citrus and I've got green, and I think I've got, what do I have? Magenta. All right. Doesn't matter which ones you're using, any 3. Now you've got your 2.5-inch squares. Use your precision pre-cuts or your precision jelly roll. Line it up here just like we did with the background fabric. You want 2.5-inch squares, 1 of each. That's it. Here we go. See that? I have my little 2.5-inch squares. We're going to put these strips aside for the moment. We're going to move on to the next grouping. This time, this is the next row. It's stone and azure is the next row going forward. And I'm only going to cut 2 layers this time because it still goes so fast and easy. Just line these up on your strips. All right. And cut. How are we doing? Any questions coming in?
Oh yeah, I'm trying to stick with you, so
okay, I know.
The Janome folks are answering the questions.
Thank you, Janome ladies. I really appreciate you fielding these, and we just love all the hard work you all are doing on that end. And I know a lot of you have gone into the warehouse on your own time to ship out kits for people, so thank you for that. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so here we go. Got a yellow, an orange, and a mint in this pile. And you want to just lay these on top of each other, line them up, cover the raw edges with the mint green lines on the ruler, and cut 2.5-inch squares. Okay, anybody liking the ruler so far? Anyone seeing the value of those mint green lines and how easy it is to see? Come on, I need a thumbs up. Tons
and tons of thumbs up and hearts. And then we have somebody asking you to demonstrate the left-handed method.
Oh, I would love to. Now I don't know if I can actually cut it, but that's a great question. And my mom was a lefty and she passed away several years ago, but I swear she'd step out of the grave if I didn't take care of the left-handers. So I always do. I always pay attention to that in my classes. So for the lefties only out there, I want to show you 2 ways that was demonstrated to me by another lefty, okay? So I've got the strips lined up, and you're going to take your ruler the same way. But now my strips are laying to my left. So Mr. Kim, if you want to come on this side so they're in the same orientation as me. So the strips are laying to the left, and you would just take the ruler and turn it 90 degrees and line it up this way like this. Do you see that the 2.5 is here? The lines on the ruler are lined up with the strips, and now with my left hand, and I don't have my rotary cutter set for a lefty, but with your left hand you would cut just like this. The other way a lefty showed me to cut was, she said, if you put the strip straight out in front of you, you could lay the ruler like this or even like this and hold it with your right hand. You're still using the 2.5-inch lines along the edges of the strip. You hold your right hand on the ruler and you use your left hand to cut across your body. So you're going from left to right across your body. So hopefully that helps. You're going to either lay the strip straight out in front or all the way off to the left, and you're going to cut right to left or bottom to top. So I hope that helps the lefties there. because I always want the lefties to know that these rulers work for you just like the right-handers. And lefties are very special. So, and I say that in a very good way. All right, so I need 2 of these. Don't worry if you're not caught up completely, it's okay. Do what you can. You can go back and catch up completely later on today, but we're just gonna keep moving forward here because you know what? Even though this isn't hard, this takes more time than actually sewing this. So once we get to the sewing machine, oh my goodness, it's gonna fly. So now I'm taking sapphire and, oh, this is magenta, and my grape, or no, this is violet. Even I have trouble remembering all the names. Laying them out, and I'm gonna get 1 square of each of these. And now we are ready to lay these out. That's it, block A is done, okay? Keep on going, keep cutting. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna lay these out, and you'll want to follow along here. I'm gonna use my Steady Betty here. I love supporting other designers, and this designer, Kathy Purdy, she's created this thing called Steady Betty. If you don't have one, you need to get to know it. It's this foam little board, and I'll show you as soon as I'm done here, that things don't slide around, and you can carry it to and from your ironing board and use it, and it keeps things from, little pieces from going everywhere. In fact, I just reached out to her 15 minutes before this broadcast and said, hey, people may be looking you up after this broadcast. It's steadybetty.com, STEADYBETTY.com, Steady Betty. And she said, oh, if they want one, and I'll do free shipping if they use the code Kimberly when they order, and I'll do free shipping in the United States between now and midnight tomorrow night. So if you find that you need a Steady Betty, you go to that website and check it out.
Quick question.
Yes.
Is your second block white background?
Yes.
The sample is black.
Yeah, I did. I have a block, just like it's supposed to look here from your orientation. This will match up with what you see on the handouts. Now in the handouts, I used like a light blue for the background, only because the black, you couldn't see the seam lines. So here's a version of it, and here's another version in progress, okay? And but I did that because that's how the actual quilt looks. For today, I'm doing everything over with a white background because again, it shows up better. It's easier for you to see what I'm cutting and how I'm sewing. So please, know that this is my version for today is using the white, but I have the step outs with the blocks in the black. So here's what we need to do with all of those blocks. We need to lay them out in a 25 little square checkerboard. And you can either follow along exactly like it's shown right here on your handout, and you can follow along and lay them out. You'll have 13 of your solidish squares and 12 of your background squares. And this is how it should look. A little further into the pattern, a few more pages down, we have the actual block A. And you can even see it better here. And this is what we're going to be doing. Ultimately, if you're using a dark background, you're going to be pressing your seams to the dark, but because I'm using white here, I'm going to reverse it and press the seams toward the solidish squares. The great thing is it doesn't really matter how you press. You can press each row one way and the other, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself, and we'll talk about that when we go over here to the iron in just a minute and sew. But what I want you to do is lay out your squares, and now we're going to go over and get ready to sew. All right, just take time to lay those out. And Mr. Kim, you can come over here behind me if you don't mind. I get situated, and all right. Oh, I just want to make sure that this is staying on so we don't lose it, and it had gone off. So I'm going to turn it on again so we don't lose the heat. All right, just to keep it going, because it does have an automatic timer and will shut off if it's not being used, so it's very secure in that way. And what I love is that you can't get it wrong. The little beeper goes off and tells you when to lift it. Okay, let me sit down over here. Now, no matter what sewing machine you're using, I'm on the Continental M7, which I love. And if you ever get a chance to go to your dealer and test drive this machine, my goodness, I think it's going to change your life. But Janome has so many fantastic models of machines to fit every style, every price point, everybody's taste. And they all, no matter what machine you have, they all have either a 1/4 inch setting or they have 1/4 inch feet, because we all need options, right? We all like options. And so there's all kinds of things that you can use, and I want you to try them all when you get a chance and find the one that you enjoy using the most. So if you can come over here, Mr. Kim, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the feet. Okay. Right now I have the A foot on, and this is the multi-purpose foot. You absolutely could use the A foot. You would need to go on your machine and find, it's typically under the decorative stitches. Here I go to the quilt, and there is my 1/4 inch foot. See that? A 1/4 inch seam, and I would click that. And here are the default settings. Actually, I think it defaults to 1.8, and I want you to have a stitch length to make these blocks of 2.4. That's a stitch length of 2.4. That's what I really like to stitch with. If you have a tighter stitch, meaning it's like 1.8 or 2.0, there's so many stitches that they start to draw in your fabric just a little bit, and it can cause your block to shrink ever so slightly. So you don't want the stitches to be too small and too tight. 2.4 is about perfect, or you can do 2.5 or 2.25. Whatever your machine settings are. If you can't do a 2.4, choose a 2.5. All right, so we could do this, and you could use your A, but I think the needle position should go over just a little more to 8.7. Did you see what I did here? It defaults to this 8.3, and that's the placement of the needle. When I touch this, watch what happens here. It moves over a little bit to the right, just a smidge. There's over 90 needle positions on these 9mm machines that you can adjust to get that perfect scant 1/4 inch. And that's what we want if we were using the A foot. Now we also have the O feet, and the O foot comes without the guide. It comes with a guide on the side, and some people love the guides, some people don't love sewing with the guides. Whichever one you think you would like to sew with, I would still use those settings with your O foot. There's also this clear 1/4 inch foot called the OV foot. It comes with a guide or the screw so you can take the guide off. And finally, there is an OM foot. And these are all extra, these 2 feet are extra feet you can get from your Janome dealer, and they're very inexpensive, and I highly recommend that you try them, because you may find they really work the way you want it to work and the way it feels comfortable. For those of you who have a 9400 or 9450 or the 15,000 or the M7, if you haven't already tried your HP foot, which stands for High Performance Foot and Plate, oh my goodness, this will blow your socks off. This little foot that kind of looks like a skinny zipper foot, even though it's not, is your perfect scant 1/4 inch foot. So I'm going to switch that out because I really, really love this. It totally was a game changer for me. But that doesn't mean I don't use these other feet. I very much can switch back and forth through these different feet depending on my mood or what I'm sewing on or what the project is. So don't feel like if you don't have the HP foot and plate right now that you can't do this. You absolutely can do it with your A foot, with your multi-purpose foot, just by altering the settings. All right, so I'm going to lock this. I'm going to put the lock on. You'll see this screen come up with the little lock and this icon. And this allows me to easily change out the throat plate.
Wait, do that again.
It is pretty cool, isn't it? All right, so what you can do is push, and it pushes it up. You slide it out, And when you get ready to change the throat cut, you just drop it in and the magnets pull it right down. So no more broken nails. I mean, it's just so easy to change out. It also, when you unlock it, it moves the carriage over so that when you're using the high performance, it moves the whole carriage to the left side, even though it doesn't seem like it has moved. It seems like it's right in the center, but you'll see that it aligns it over this left feed dog. And that makes it like an industrial or a professional, and they do call this a professional machine. It makes the stitch like an industrial machine straight stitch. It's just brilliant, and I just adore it. So, but that's why I pointed out these different feet, because
people want to know if that
options.
foot works on other machines.
Right now, it only works on the 9450, I think the 9400, the 15,000, and the M7. So, you know, next time you're in the market, you go and see this at your dealer, and it is total game changer. I know I say that a lot about Janome, but I mean, I was actually a hard sell on the HP foot. When it first came out on my 15,000, I didn't even try it for about 6 months because I was so happy using those other feet, and I thought, well, it can't get better. Oh my goodness. And then I tried it. It was like, where's this been all my life? But please use what you have, okay? If you only have the A foot or your multi-purpose foot, let's change the settings on your machine and make it work. Use what you have. Okay, so that was a little bit of stalling to give you time to get your blocks laid out, and I hope you did. Anybody ready to start sewing? I'm going to show you this great method for we're going to chain them all together. So they're going to end up looking like this, all right, before we sew the block together. And we've got like 10 minutes left for this block, and I think we're right on task. We're right on time here.
Get lots of thumbs up.
Great. You're going to love this. I demonstrated this the other day in the sew along, and if you joined me for the pineapple sew along, thank you. It was so much fun. The feedback I got was just overwhelming, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the pineapple sew along, it's posted on the Janome Classrooms page. I think somebody from Janome can post a link to it so you can watch it later, and you can follow along with that. But if you weren't there, I'm going to demo this method right now. So what we have here on the Steady Betty with all my little squares is we have rows which go horizontally and columns which are vertical, okay? And in order to sew them so they're all chained together so nothing gets spun around, we've got column 1 and column 2, and that's all we're going to focus on for the moment. So get your squares ready. I want you sewing along with me if you possibly can. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to pick up column number 2, and we're going to fold it over to column 1. Do you see that? Watch. Do you want to come on my other side, Mr. Kim? And then pretty soon you'll be able to go set it up and field some comments. Do you see how I'm folding that over? And now I've got column 2 is all right sides together with column 1. All right, I think that's all they need to see from this angle. If you want to walk around and get that set up, and I'll take a little drink here.
Move your chair forward for me.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
No, now it's underneath you.
Oh, sorry.
Forward.
Here, let me stand up. So sorry, guys.
There we go, got it.
We had a mic cord emergency. If that's the worst of our problems today, I think we're in good shape. All right, how are we doing out there? You all ready to sew? You got your machines ready to go, all threaded. I've got mine all ready to go here. Again, use whatever 1/4 inch foot option you like or whatever you have. I think he's getting it all set up. It looks a little crooked.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. Now, the reason I want to teach you this method is because you can use it all the time when you're sewing your blocks together and when you're sewing your quilt tops together. It works, and it keeps you so straight so that blocks and units don't get turned wonky. I know we're just using plain squares right now, but later on you'll see when we have half square triangles and different units, this makes it so easy to get everything together. Wonky.
Sorry.
I know we're just using plain squares right now. On the top, honey. Later on, there we go. He's trying to get the iPad going so he can watch comments and field questions. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. I'm going to pick up the top 2 squares like this. Don't turn the orientation. All right, we want the background fabric on top and your citrus color or your top left square of your solidish fabric or your fabric on the bottom. Take it over, put it under the presser foot and sew. Don't worry if you're not there yet, just keep doing what you're doing. You can catch up later or you can catch up when you can. Don't worry, I'm waiting for you. And now we're going to sew, I don't know, 3 or 4 stitches off that little block. Now we pick up the second unit. Now this time the stone color square is on top, the background's on the bottom, and we're going to go ahead here. Oh, I forgot to set my auto pivot, which means the auto presser foot lifter. You can do that, or you can have your knee lift on so that it automatically lifts up your presser foot for you, or you can do that with your knee. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to break the chain. My foot pedal is scooting away from me here. Okay, now you pick up the third grouping. We have the orange on the bottom and the background on the top. Now we want to go ahead and slide it right under that presser foot up to the needle. And if you have the option on your machine to have your needle stop in the down position, that's best because you can push your unit right up to the needle, which is sunk down into the machine. And what that will do is if your fabric goes right up to the needle, when you press the foot pedal, the needle comes up and goes right into your fabric and grabs it. Something else you can do to make sure that your fabric isn't getting sucked down in, there's 2 things. If you haven't changed your needle in a while, it's time. If you can't remember the last time you changed your needle, it's time. And I recommend using the purple tip organ needles or the Microtex needles. You want a really, really sharp blade point. You don't want a ball point. You want a sharp point, and you also can use your single hole throat plate. By changing your needle, getting the proper needle, and a single hole throat plate, I promise you it makes all the difference in the world. The other thing I should have talked about is your thread. Of course, use whatever thread that you have on hand, but if you can get 50 weight cotton thread, that is absolutely the best kind of thread to use. You don't want any heavier thread. You don't want a 40 weight or definitely not a 30 weight. And 60 weight is a little too thin. Now I'm doing the 4th grouping in the row and finally the 5th, okay? And we're going to go ahead and sew. Now you can use your little scissor cutter to cut those threads at the end, and now you can see that they're all chained together. And I should have had this one heating because I do use a little iron right next to me when I sew. And all right, Mr. Kim, do you think you could walk over and get that that little thread catcher for me over here? If you can't, that's okay. Now what I'm going to do is, I've done this both ways. I don't know if there's a right or a wrong way to do this. Sometimes I like to press as I go, just give it a quick press. And you want to press, for me, using a light background fabric, I am pressing toward the colored squares. And it's just a light press, and this I don't even think was that hot yet, but enough to keep it down, keep the seams to one side. I've tried pressing the seams all in one direction. I've tried pressing them alternately, but what we want is we want the ability to nest the seams when we get to that point where we're sewing the rows. Here we go. Thank you. Thank you so much. I need to keep it kind of tidy up here because I'll be the one cleaning it up. All right. Now we're going to start at the top again. Remember, for me, the top left was that citrus color. Keep that straight. So now we're going to lay this down on the bed of the machine and we're going to go, I'm going to pick up the green. This is column 3. Pick up the top one in column 3, put it right sides together. The thing to know is that you will never be sewing for this block 2 colors together. It's always going to be a color to a background or a background to a color. You would never put 2 colors together, so that also keeps you straight. And this is a complete skill building block of the month. They're going to get a little bit harder with each block. But I think you're going to learn so much as we go that, you know, even if you're an advanced sewer, I'm hoping you'll pick up a new tip or two. And besides, I'm just so glad you're here and that you're joining us and being part of this fun community the people in the Janome community, the consumers, the sewists, the quilters. You all are so lovely and so encouraging, and I am so uplifted by your comments, your texts and emails to me. I was texting with a dealer from San Marcos, California at 1:30 a.m. last night. No, I don't sleep. But it's important to me that we take care of our people. Oh, we have a comment. Yes.
What size needle?
Oh, I like an 80. A size 80 needle. That's my favorite for quilting. A 70 is a little small, and while it will work with 50 weight, a size 80 needle is perfect, and a size 90 needle is a little chunky. So if you can get an size 80 needle, that would be perfect. Okay, great question. Yay. Thank you for whoever sent that one in.
We also had somebody that asked about how do you do the auto lift foot?
The auto pivot.
Foot lift?
Yeah. Some of the machines have that feature. It's a little icon that shows a presser foot with the needles sunk down in, and you would engage it. Typically, I think the color for those icons, it turns yellow when it's engaged. Your machine may not have that, and that's okay. It's all right. You can just reach right around there and pull that right up. No worries. Again, maybe at some point in the future when you're ready to upgrade, look for a machine that has that option. But, you know, we're just happy you're here. Now we're going to column 4, and we're lining up. The first square is a background square, and we're going to sew that. Are y'all sewing along with me? I don't expect hearts or thumbs up or anything right now because I'm hoping you're at your machines getting some sewing done on this. And it's okay if for those of you who want to get a smidgen ahead, because I'm trying to go at a pace that everyone can keep up. And we've got to kind of move a little bit faster here, only because we've got a lot to cover in another hour. I'm going to try to finish right on time. We may run a smidgen over, but we'll do our best to end on time. But we've got a lot of ground to cover yet, and we've already covered a lot of ground. Hopefully you have picked up a tip or trick along the way already that's been helpful. All right. And I've been gabbing, and I should have been sewing. But that's okay. That's what it's like when you have friends in your sewing room, right? You get caught up in the sewing and the laughing, and that's really fun. And I can't wait till things get a little better in the world as far as people can visit again and gather. That's going to be a great time. But in the meantime, having this avenue to reach out and connect with you all, even virtually, is such a blessing and a comfort, and it's just been amazing to connect with people. I hate to say this, but I always look for the silver lining in everything. It's been such an amazing experience to connect with so many of you from across the country and around the world that may not have happened had we not had COVID and this whole worldwide pandemic. I'm not saying in any way I'm grateful for the pandemic, but the silver lining is that we have connected and we've created a platform here with Janome, all the people at Janome, Regina Carlavaro, hi Regina, and all the educators who have been working tirelessly to create content to help you all learn on the Facebook Lives every day, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3. I have learned so much from watching them. This all may not have transpired. It all may not have happened had we not been pushed into a situation where we needed to step up. So there's something to be grateful for in every situation, and you got to look for the positives, even in the hard times. Okay, so now I would want to go ahead and press towards the colors for me, because I'm using the light as my background. Mr. Kim, how are we doing over there?
Doing great.
Okay, any more comments?
Yeah, lots of them, but it's more, they're just saying how they like to follow.
Okay. And people should be sewing. So. No, seriously. And I just want you to give it a little press. Doesn't have to be perfect at this point. We just want those seams going opposing each other in the rows, so that it will be easy to nest them and snuggle, okay? And because of the time here, I'm gonna turn this around, give this another little press over here on this side, these last 2 rows. Again, if you're using a dark background, press to the dark, okay? The great thing is about this quilt, the design, and I did it on purpose, was none of the blocks have to intersect with each other. They're going to be split by background fabric strips, so you're not going to have to intersect these blocks with another block. They're going to be sewn to a straight row, and that makes it really easy. Okay, now we're ready to sew these together. And you see, yours should look like this. They're all connected, all combined. Now when you go to sew row to row to row, you can't get it wrong. Yes, we have a question.
What brand of iron are you using? They notice it's cordless.
Oh, yeah, this is a Panasonic cordless iron. And, oh, sorry, here's my iced tea getting in the way. Can you see this? It's really great for small projects like this. It really does the trick, and it's easy because you're not encumbered by the cord. But you have to keep putting it back on the base to keep it charging. I love it. I have two of them, one in my other studio in our cabin and one here, and I love it. Now, I also use the press when I'm done with the block because that just makes all the difference in the world. But this is a great one to have right next to you in a setup, even if you have just a little mat or your ironing board. That's a great question. And I think if you're an AQS member, they have those irons on their website too. So I know a lot of you came here because AQS was really great about sharing the information of this class, and that's I'm so glad that you're here if you came by way of AQS. Yes?
Press the seams open or to one side?
To one side, towards the darker color. If you have light background, press those seams toward the colored fabrics. If you have a dark background, press the seams toward the background fabric. So here it's really easy in this first block. The seam pressing becomes a little more critical in future blocks, but we'll cover that. And we're going to go ahead and sew these. All you're doing is flipping them over, right sides together, each row one at a time, and sewing. And if you have a speed control on your machine, turn it down a little. You don't need to run to the races and just go nuts. All right, here we go. And then I've sewn the first 2 rows now. Do you see that? The first 2 rows are sewn. Now we're going to take that and fold it over to the 3rd row where it's connected by those little connecting threads. Line those up, snuggle those seams together. All right, and the time is flying by. Are you all having as much fun as me? I'm having a great time, and I'm so tickled that you're here. Just feels like having friends in my room, and it's such a treat to welcome you into our home, into my studio. I can't thank you enough. Especially, just no matter where you are coming from, even if you're coming from down the street from me, whether you're there or clear across the world. The only continent I don't think we've had is Antarctica. Do you think there's any quilters in Antarctica tuning in?
Could be.
I'd love to know if somebody's from Greenland or Iceland or maybe Russia. Wouldn't that be fun? We've had some from India lately. I saw that after the sew-along. We had a couple ladies from India. Welcome if you're here for this. But from Norway, we've had some ladies from Norway that I've seen, and Scotland. I think I responded to a text from somebody from Scotland this morning.
We've had India, we've had New Zealand.
Yay! Oh, in New Zealand. Okay, somebody needs to invite us to come and teach in New Zealand and Australia. That's a bucket list place for us. Or South Africa. Or down in South America. I mean, we're willing to go anywhere when this is all over. But isn't it fun that we get to connect right now through this? How many of you are loving your Janome machines and all the features? Are you learning new things as you watch these Janome lives? I have learned so much by watching these talented educators, and I've just had the time to really play with my machine and all the unique and different feet that I didn't normally have the time to play with. In fact, I am doing a Facebook Live event on Monday. Oh, we have another question.
You're getting lots of thumbs up.
Oh, yay.
But also wanted you to answer this question here. Do you use a scant 1/4 inch?
Yes. Oh, it's a great question. And what is a scant 1/4 inch? Well, if I asked 200 people to show me your scant 1/4 inch, I'd probably get 200 different scant 1/4 inches. I have actually addressed that with very good close-up photos on a blog post. You can find it on my blog at www.kimberlyeinmo.com. But even if you just Google perfect scant 1/4 inch defined, it will pull up that blog post. I've just checked it recently. Perfect scant 1/4 inch defined, and I have tons of close-up photos that show you what it should look like. Basically, let me just explain. I don't have my visuals here, but basically a scant 1/4 inch is about 3 fibers skinnier than a full 1/4 inch. Okay, so if you laid a ruler down to measure your 1/4 inch, it should be that seam that you sewed should be touching the right side of the mark on your ruler. That allows for you to fold the seam to one side, press the seam to one side, and it allows for that bulk that happens. Yes?
So the question is the Steady Betty an ironing surface?
It is. Oh, and she has a one that I even love more than this. It's on one of my other demos here. The Steady Betty is an ironing surface. It's wonderful, but she has one called the Woolly Betty. So it has this kind of foamy side on one side and the wool on the other. I will show it to you when I get there. Oh my goodness, that is amazing. So you can use that for pressing or not. So it's absolutely wonderful. Now, here is our block, not pressed yet. All right, so now we have our block pressed together, and now you're just going to press the seams lightly to one side. All right, like this. Just kind of get in there and give it a little press just to get the seams all going in the right direction. And then we're going to take it over to the press, although I heard it turn off a minute ago, so hopefully it'll still be warm. And we're going to give it a really good press. Now, have you ever made a block? Now, these should come out just perfect, but have you ever made a block where it was just shy of the amount? Like it was, if this is supposed to be 10.5 inches unfinished, when you got your block put together, it was like 10 3/8. Okay, sometimes it just needs a thorough pressing. Did you know how to do that? Set it back on?
Just push the on button.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, Mr. Kim pushed the on for me. Sometimes it just needs a thorough pressing. Sometimes your iron just can't press it flat enough. That's where the press just shines. And I'm going to walk back over there and see if it's hot enough to do this, because I did hear it shut off. It's okay. And we're going to, can you move the camera with us?
Yep.
Okay.
Leaking.
All right, and it wasn't on all the way. So what we'll do is we'll let that heat up. We'll come back to this. Oops, you're over there. Mr. Kim is miking up again. Sorry for the little confusion there. And we're going to move back over to the cutting table because we need to move on to block 2 or block B. So I'm going to move these out of the way. And here's our other step outs for that. Here again, here's your block all finished and it's been all pressed. But sometimes using a press can just get you that last little bit, that last little 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch, because it presses everything so unbelievably flat. All right, so here we go. I'm going to put these off to the side and I'm going to move back over here. Here's my Woolly Betty coming up here. Oh, excuse me. All right, let's move on to block B. We got a lot of ground to cover, and this one, while is not hard to make, it can be a little tricky because of how we put it together. So this is our block right here. I'm going to hold it up. All right, this is the unfinished block. It's not in the quilt, but this is how it's going to look. And here I've done it with the white background. I've done one so you can see what it looks like with the light background. And I'm going to be working with the light fabrics today. All right, so you're going to need to go back to this page where it shows all the cutting for that block, okay? And we're going to go ahead and cut together. And I've got all my strips ready. So what you're going to need from your background is you're going to need a strip that's 3.5 inches of your background fabric, and you're going to need a strip of your 2.5 inches of your background fabric, and then we're going to cut some pieces from that. So let's do that right now together. Let's start with the 3.5 inch strip, All right, don't worry if I get just a smidgen ahead, you can catch up. We need 2 3.5-inch squares. And again, you can use your either your precision pre-cuts. Oh, this is my 2.5. I'm sorry, I need my 3.5. You can use your precision pre-cuts or your precision jelly roll ruler, and we're going to go to the 3.5-inch lines, which are right here and here, and we're going to cut 2 squares. And I have my fabric folded in half, so we're going to go ahead and cut 2 squares. And do you see how that's a little crooked there? I'm going to spin that around. That's because I didn't have a really flat edge, and I'm going to just trim that up right now. See that? Now that's perfect. Yay. That's all you need from the 3.5 inches. Now we're going to go to our 2.5-inch strip, and what we need from that is we need 2 2.5-inch squares. All right, here we go. We're going to lay our ruler with the 2.5 inches. And for all you lefties, remember what I showed you, how to use your ruler to cut left-handed. We need 2 of those squares. And now from our 1.5-inch strip, and here's the thing, if you hadn't cut your 1.5-inch strip, you could easily use your 2.5-inch strip and trim it down. But I went ahead and cut a 1.5-inch strip, and what we're going to need from that is 2 1.5 by 3.5-inch rectangles. 1.5 by 3.5-inch rectangles right here. So I'm using, here's the 1.5-inch line, see that? Cover the raw edge and then go find your 3.5-inch line here. Line that up. Go ahead and cut those. There's 2 rectangles cut. And now we need a 1.5 by 4.5. We need 2 of those. Here's the 4.5. Because 4.5 is used a ton of times, that's a solid line on your ruler from either your precision pre-cuts or your jelly roll ruler. We have the 1.5 inches. Here's the 1.5 showing you where that is, and the 4.5-inch line, and you're going to cut that. So now our background is cut. That's all we need from our background. Now you're going to need 4 strips. Do we have a question?
Well, some people have missed because they were either doing something.
Yeah.
I just wanted to remind them they can go back and
Absolutely. Or just keep going. I'm just going to keep talking through it. Please don't get stressed or worried if you didn't get that done. I'm just trying to be mindful of the time. We're getting just a little behind, and I want to make sure we get through everything that we need to today. Again, if I have such great step outs that I can show you in order to kind of keep us on track for the class and the time, because I want to be very respectful of your time that you're sharing with us. I want to be respectful of that and not take too much of your family time on a Saturday. I've got great step outs to show you, which means if you're not keeping up exactly, please don't worry about it. You can go back as soon as this live is done. We will post it. You can go back in, watch again, and pause until you're at the place where you need to be, and then hit play and keep going. So you'll have, this will be posted indefinitely, and you'll have tons of time to go and do this. So please don't stress. So the colors we need for this are going to be lavender and magenta and lime and sapphire. So here's what they look like, Mr. Kim, if you can zoom in a little bit. This is your lavender, your magenta, your lime, which is the really bright green, and the sapphire. So what we want to do is we're going to be cutting the lavender and magenta together. So I've got my 2.5-inch strips of lavender and magenta, and we're going to line those strips up together. Mr. Kim, are you having as much fun as I am? Because you're doing great on the camera, by the way. I'm very impressed.
I think I'm having more fun than you.
You know what? Where's Cheeto Puff? We need to get Cheeto Puff next time we're over here at the... He's somewhere. He's probably snoozing somewhere. All right. So what we're going to cut here is a 1.5 by 1.5 inch square. So we just need 1 of each. Again, I keep forgetting because I've been cutting multiples of these all week to prepare. So we just need 1 layer of your lavender and your magenta. And you're going to use the ruler, and we're going to cut a 1.5 inch by 2.5 inch rectangle. Here's your 1.5 inch line. We're going to cut that, spin the unit, put the 1.5 inch square lines on there. Do you see that? I'm moving it up a little bit so you can see the 1.5 inch square lines, and we're putting it right on that unit and cut. And this goes in scraps for the dog bed quilts. So now we have our 2 little squares cut. All right, the next thing we need to cut are 3 1.5 by 2.5 inch rectangles. So now we already have these strips together, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut 3 rectangles. Here is 1.5. You can see the lines on the ruler. It makes it so easy. I hope you're loving this. 1.5 inch by 2.5 inch lines. So this is what it looks like when you get ready to cut these rectangles, and we need 3 sets of these. So this is what it will look like. We're going to cut 3 of these. 1, 2, 3. Alrighty. All right. And then finally, from the magenta and lavender, we need 2 1.5 by 3.5 inch rectangles. Okay, you're like, what do we do? I mean, this is a 2.5 inch wide strip. All we do is we go over here and we're going to cut ourselves a rectangle that's 2.5 by 3.5 inches. We're going to cut this like this, all right? Then we're going to turn and put the 1.5 by 3.5 inch lines on this, and we're going to cut off the excess. And again, this little piece, this little 1 inch strip goes in your dog bed pile. I mean, your scraps, whatever you do with those. So we need how many of those? 2. We need 2 of those groupings. All right, so you can see what I'm doing here, and we'll do 1 more, 3.5. Here we go. Use those lines on your rulers to cover the raw edges so you know you are cutting accurately. It's very, very important to cut accurately. Okay, we're done with magenta and lavender. Do I dare throw these over my shoulder?
Yes.
Ready? Woo! There they go. All right. You gotta have some fun. All right. So now we're going to move on to lime and sapphire. And I want you to follow along on the bullets and cut just as they're listed, okay? Cut just as they're listed on your handout. All right, and if you haven't printed this out yet, do that after the class. What we're going to do is we're going to open these up and put them, layer them right sides together or wrong sides together. It really doesn't matter because they're not going to get sewn together. And first we need a 1.5 by 1.5 inch square. So we're going to cut a 1.5 by 2.5 inch rectangle from here and slide this down. So we have a 1.5 by 1.5 inch square. Let's get rid of that. Here's our little squares. Let's put those squares up here with these squares, all right? And keep those together because they're going to form a little 4 patch. Now we need one 1.5 by 2.5 inch rectangle from each of these fabrics. So we're going to go ahead and cut those. And then we're going to need 1.5 by 3.5 inches. So remember, we're going to have to cut the bigger rectangle here, 3.5 by 2.5 inch, and we're going to turn it and cut 1.5 by 3.5. There we go. And I think we only needed 1 of those. Now we need a 1.5 by 5.5 inch rectangle. Okay, and so now we're going to use our ruler, move it all the way down to the 5.5 inch line. Here's my 5. Here's the 1/2 inch line. We're going to go this way, like this. Cut that, and don't worry, you will have plenty of all of these strips to completely make the quilt. All right, don't worry, there is plenty. And we're going to cut that down into 1.5 inch rectangles. All right, and last we're going to cut a 1.5 by 6.5 inch rectangle. All right, here we go. Let's go all the way down to 6.5 right here, and we're going to cut. And then trim it down to, oops, this side. Use that 1.5 inch line. I know it's a little, here, let's turn it on the green, see if that shows up a little bit. There we go. See that? Here's the 1.5 inch line, cover the raw edge. It's very simple to do. Hold it in place. And here's a great tip. Oh, I think you're going to love this. For those of you who have put your hands flat for your ruler, you know it can slide. If you use the pinky on your hand, and I've never met anybody yet who doesn't have enough power in their pinky to do this, and I've met thousands of people. Raise the palm of your hand up off the ruler. Take your pinky, don't keep it on the ruler, and don't put it way off here to the side. Put your pinky right next to the ruler on the mat, and I promise you that mat or that ruler will not move. Your pinky can hold it in place, and it will not slide. It will not go anywhere. All right, and there are your units. We are done cutting. We're ready to move over to the sewing machine and get all these put together. Now again,
Man, are you getting lots of hearts?
that is so great. That makes me happy. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, so let's just get ready. But first I want to show you on my step outs here. Boy, am I making a mess. Here we go. I have taken the time to lay this out on my Steady Betty and Woolly Betty here. And this is just an awesome thing. Okay. Can you see how I've taken the time to kind of gently lay out following the diagram? Now, if you'll move a few more pages down into your handouts, you can see that I have it here, and I have the diagram laid out exactly how we're going to sew these. So I'm going to take this over with me, and we are going to, actually I'm going to carry the whole Steady Betty over. This is the Woolly Betty because it's got the foam on one side and the wool on the other. And I love this one. And they come in different sizes. You don't have to have great big. They come in smaller, larger. They're just wonderful. All right. All right, here we go. Do you have enough cord, Mr. Kim?
I believe so.
All right. I need a little refresher here. How are we doing, everyone? Okay, the first thing we're going to do here, if you'll follow along on that part of your handout where we're just following the diagram here, I'm going to walk you through how easy it is to put these units together. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the left side, and I'm going to sew my 6.5 by 1.5 inch lime green and my this little unit right here, which this one is the 4.5 of your background. Sew those right sides together, and just on the long edge, what we're doing is the outside rectangles, the very left rectangles, okay? And now we're going to go ahead and press the way the little arrows are shown on your handouts. In this case, that's pressed to the background, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Lay it back down. Yes, we have a question.
I'm not sure this is a question, but somebody said the block of the month I printed from Janome's site shows a 1.5 by 5.5 rectangle instead of a 6.5.
You need both. You need a 5.5 and a 6.5. That's a great question.
Could their instruction have cut off that last one?
Yes. Well, not in the original cutting where I showed that chart. It's perfectly fine. On this page, it does look like there was a bullet that got omitted, but it's fine. You just cut another 6.5 inch rectangle. If you had been following along on the other page, like I showed you, all the bullets are correct. So what we want to do is, I just wrote it in here. It's a 1 by 1.5. I'm sorry. You need 1.5 by 6.5 inch rectangle. It does tell you to cut that on the other cutting chart. So just write it in here. You would have done that. You would have cut it. I noticed that the other night. That was a great question, and I forgot to point that out. Anyway, it's not like you cut anything wrong. It was omitted on this assembly chart, and but it is listed on the cutting chart. And I think going forward, it got changed yesterday because I did point that out, and I think somebody at Janome did correct that, and it's there now. So if you printed it out in the last 24 hours, it was probably just fine. All right, so now, because you know what? Mistakes happen sometimes. But anyway, now we're going to press this one. What I did was I went to the right side and I took the sapphire and the background and I sewed this unit together, okay? And now we're going to lay that back down. It's kind of, this block is not hard. It's just squares and rectangles. It's just kind of pesky to put together, but it makes a really pretty modern square knot. It's like a lover's knot, and I had fun designing this. It's like a lover's knot in a modern version. All right, now we're going to go start working on the center and work outward. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try that little 4 patch. So the 4 patch starts with the magenta and lime, and then the sapphire and the lavender. So we'll take the magenta and lime, sew that together, And these are just little tiny pieces, but still use your perfect 1/4 inch and chain these two together. Then you would take the lavender and the sapphire and put those right sides together and go ahead and slide that in there. How are we doing, Mr. Kim?
We're doing great.
Great. All right. Now for this one, we're pressing the seam toward the sapphire and toward the magenta. So go ahead and press the seam towards the sapphire and towards the magenta. If you wanted me to say it the other way, it's away from the, I'm sorry, did I say it's towards the lavender and away from the sapphire, towards the magenta and away from the lime. It's hard to keep all of this straight. All right, now when you've done that, put these right sides together. Here's a great tip. Mr. Kim, do you suppose you could just stand up and kind of lean in with the camera? I want to show this tip. Whenever you're making 4 patches, if you have the chance to sew with the seam on top facing towards the presser foot instead of having the seam pressed this way. All right, see, we don't want that if we can help it. Now, in some quilt patterns, you don't have the choice. But here, I had these pressed this way because we want the seams to snuggle, meaning they're opposing. And by having the seam towards the presser foot, what happens is you don't need a pin. When you get to this, oh, I think I had a thread break. Breaks happen. Hang on.
Can't blame it on Cheeto.
I know. I don't know where he is. Usually he's here just in the middle of things. I think I'll have to rattle the drawer. He knows what's in the drawer. Okay. Here we go. Let's just do this. And rethreading with these automatic threaders goes so fast. And boy, I'll tell you, I'm very spoiled by those now. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. All right. So we want to sew with the seam facing toward the presser foot, and you use your little scissors or a stiletto or something so that you keep that seam from flipping over. You don't want the seam to flip back this way. All right. What happens is when the presser foot goes over these two seams, it smashes that point together. The feed dogs and the presser foot work so beautifully together. It smashes the point and you get a perfect point every single time. I just get so happy over these things. Wait till you see. All right, here we go. Here we go. Look at that. Can it be any prettier? I don't think so. So now what we're going to do is really we can press this one open or to one side. Really doesn't matter so much. Let me see if it really does. No, I think we want to press that seam toward the lavender. No, sorry. I'm reading it upside down for me. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to turn it around, and we want the seam pressed towards the blue and the lavender. All right. Or you can press it open. Actually, it really doesn't matter here so much. All right. Not so much. When it matters, I'll tell you. All right, now we've got some other things to sew. We're going to start up here and we're going to sew this little 3.5 inch square grouping together of the lavender in the background. We're going to kind of move through this kind of quick, okay, because I want to get onto the assembly of this. That part's really important, and I don't want you all to get stressed out. Press towards the background. Okay, we're going to move on to the next little background square and the 2.5 inch rectangle of the lavender. All right, and this one, you press towards the lavender. Okay, I'm just basically following the diagram like a clock, starting up at the 11 o'clock hour, moving now to the 12 o'clock. I'm putting the two 3.5 inch units, or the 3.5 inch rectangles together. We're moving on to the noon unit. Does that make sense? The clock analogy. Do we have any questions coming?
They're being answered by other people.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you, ladies, for answering questions. Don't worry if you get behind. We just have a lot of ground to cover.
What model is the Elna press?
This one is the 850, I believe, this one. But they have 4 levels of presses, and you can find them at your local Janome dealer. And let me tell you, if you're ready for a little splurge, which some of you, because we haven't been able to shop much, if you're ready for a little splurge, this is the way to go. But they have 4 different models in different price points, and they are fabulous. Let me tell you, game changer, total game changer. All right, now we're going to press with this little magenta and sapphire, press this little 2.5-inch unit towards the sapphire. Okay, I'm just working my way around clockwise with these units, okay? And now, once you get this unit together, we need to sew the little magenta rectangle on top with the magenta rectangle of this unit on top. So we're putting this right sides together, and we're folding this over, and we're just gonna sew this together like this. This may run just about 10 or 15 minutes over if you have time. I'm really working hard to get this done so we can move on to the last block, because we have to cover half square triangles today. It's very, very important we get to that. And then we're going to go down here and do this one. I'm now down at the 4 o'clock place on the clock. I'm doing the magenta 1.5 by 2.5-inch rectangle and the background 2.5-inch square. This time you press towards the background square and away from the magenta.
Quick question while you're doing that.
Yeah.
Somebody had asked what's the preferred needle. That was way back at the beginning.
Yeah.
Didn't have a chance to get to it.
That's okay.
Not sure anybody answered it.
Okay, that one was, I like organ needles for Janome machines. If you can get organ needles, they make a difference. They really, really do. And I prefer Microtex needles, which are the purple tip needles. They are very sharp and a size 80. That was a great question. Now I'm down at the 5 o'clock place on the block, where it's the background and the magenta 3.5-inch strip, and we're pressing towards the background. Okay. And all right, now I'm at the 6 o'clock point, putting those 2 units together. It's the lime and magenta. Go ahead and sew those 3.5-inch rectangles together and press towards the magenta. Okay. All right. And I know y'all are sewing. Please don't stress. No stress. It's not allowed in my class. Seriously, stress, it just doesn't have a place in quilting. This is just fabric, people, and it's just supposed to be fun and relaxing. And now I'm back over to the 9 o'clock position with the green and lavender 2.5-inch rectangles. I'm going to sew that. Press towards the green, or the lime, I guess it's called, because there is a green. We want to press towards the lime. And then we're going to add the little lavender rectangle on the side. So it's going to look like this. We're going to have the green at the top. We're going to have the lavender at the side. And we're going to fold that right sides over. And just follow your diagram. Line those up. This is a pretty forgiving block, actually, once you break it down. It can be intimidating looking at it, like, how do you assemble this? And we're pressing out towards the last rectangle that we just added. And now we're ready. Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to move down here, I think. Nope, not yet. All right. Step out's not ready. All right.
Some people are getting a little lost. Just a reminder, they can go back and replay it over and over again to get caught back up.
Yeah, please don't worry. We're just trying to be mindful of your time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sewing the middle row together. This little 3 rectangle unit to the 4 patch, okay? What I want you to do, please don't stress. This is fun. And you can go back, and if you want to just stop right here and maybe just take a break and say, okay, I'll come back to block B. I'm going to get ready for block C. That's okay. You can absolutely do that. See how we went ahead and sewed that together, and it's very important that when you come up from this, the lime is touching the magenta and the lavender is touching the blue. So the orientation on this is very important, and we're going to give that a little press. Now we're going to sew the other part of the middle unit, that middle row. So now we've got the magenta touching the lime and the sapphire touching the lavender. And we're going to sew that row together, that little unit together to make the middle row. All right.
Jane wants to know where all the chocolate candies are.
Boy, we need some. We just got home yesterday from having been up in the mountains, and I have not had a real chance to buy, well, Mr. Kim hasn't had a chance to buy anything but like bread and milk. So we'll probably have to do some grocery shopping, but chocolate would be good about now. Yes, hello. And Wilbur Buds especially. And if you've never had Wilbur Buds, they are the original or the predecessor to Hershey Kisses from the Wilbur Chocolate Company, and they're fabulous. Okay, so now what we want to do, yes?
Another question. And this is got a formal term in it. What is the plastic thingy that your block is on?
Oh, that's a great one. I have these bins called art bins, and they used to come with these plastic dividers, and they don't do it anymore, but I have stockpiled them, and they really help me with my step outs. So that's been a really good thing. All right, now, that's a good question though. Now I'm going to sew up at the 11 o'clock hour in the block these two units. Can you all see that? I'm going to sew these two units, the square and the 2.5 inch rectangle and the 3.5 inch rectangle units. I'm going to sew those together.
Suzanne says this is a pretty block for an entire quilt if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, that is true. Oh, I'd love to see that. I would love, love, love to see that. Give that a press. Okay.
And they were happy to hear about the Wilbur Buds.
Hey, it's the important things in life. Now we're doing the 3.5 inch background and the 3.5 inch rectangle units of lavender and sapphire. Get those sewn together. Alrighty, let's see, is that right? I've got to pull this off here and take a look underneath. Yes, it is. I just want to make sure I'm going in the right direction. It's very important. This just takes a little planning on your part, okay? And now what we're going to do is we're going to sew this unit that we just sewed to this long 5.5 inch rectangle of your sapphire. So this goes across the top. We're going to sew that together. And like I said, if you've got a little behind, just stop. Don't stress or panic. You can go back right after this is over and just kind of take a break and a breather and just prepare for block C. Okay, that's all you need to do. Don't worry if you're not there, not here with me on this block. This one takes a little more thought in putting this together. And now we're going to sew these two units together. I'm going to pick them up like this. So now the lavender and sapphire units are going to go together.
Carolyn Archer said you got her addicted to those Wilbur Buds.
I did. Carolyn Archer is a fabulous long arm quilter. She quilts so many of my quilts. She frosts them so beautifully. Her business is called Ohio Star Quilting. And she has been a longtime friend, and I love Carolyn, and we are buddies, and she's just a doll. But I did get her. I admit it, I got her addicted. All right, let me just say this. When I teach a class in person, I try to take Wilbur Buds, and we hand them out, and I think I've converted a lot of people. Just saying. All right, now we're ready to sew these units together. Don't worry, I haven't done the bottom row and the two sides, but we're almost there, and we're just getting a little behind, and
We just got a comment that says the camera's a little blurry, but on mine it looks okay.
Really? Do you want to touch the center and see if that makes a difference, or? Oh my goodness. Anyone else seeing a blurriness to the camera? Gosh, I hope not.
This is real-time feedback. Well,
Yeah.
near real-time.
Which is amazing because we have been so focused on audio and thought that the video was okay. It could be your whatever your Wi-Fi is or the streaming. I don't know. Now we're going to press that. Mr. Kim, could you unhook yourself and go turn on that press again, please? Because I think it shut itself off. I haven't used it in time. All right, oops, let's turn this the right way. Now we've got to finish this bottom unit. We're going to start at the bottom here, and so these little 3.5 inch rectangle units to the background square and the 2.5 inch rectangle unit of the magenta. Maybe 3 blocks was a tad bit ambitious today, but just bear with me. If you have to leave at the 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time hour, I will understand, and it's okay. All right, what we got going here? Now we're going to sew.
People are saying it's not blurry.
Okay.
So maybe it was just one person's, or
yeah. Okay. Thank you all for the feedback.
maybe by touching the screen I fixed it.
We try so hard to really put out a quality program here, a quality live event. It's very important to us. We take it so seriously, even though, life is serious, and, we try not to get upset.
What foot are you using on your machine?
This is the HP foot and plate, which stands for high performance. It's available on some of the Janome models, like the 9450, the 15000, and the M7. So if you're even considering a trade-in, go test drive one of the machines that has the HP foot and plate. Oh my goodness. Now, so, some of the dealers participate in a program where I think they will give you partial or full credit on your purchase price within 1 year of a machine if you want to upgrade. And let me tell you, even the M7, people say, oh, that's too much machine. No, it's not. Trust me, it's not, when it makes things so great. But I love the 9450. I love the 15000. I love the S series. There's just not a machine that I don't love. Seriously, they are just so great. All right, let's see here.
Are you using your foot thread cutter?
Yes, I am. Sometimes I go back and forth. Oh, that's a great question. I want everyone to tune in to my live event on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have got a couple surprises for you. Of course, we'll have another done before dinner project that I cannot wait to share. But we're going to be talking about the foot pedal and all the ways your foot pedal can be customized. That's not all we're talking about. I'm going to feature some things with the press, and we're going to be just covering a lot of ground because there's so much to share. There's so many ways you can customize your machine that people don't even know there's ways to do it. So what I've done here is I've sewn the bottom third of the block. I'm going to put that together and sew it like this. We're almost done, people. We're almost done. And then we're going to move on to block C. All right, and we're going to go ahead and just kind of snuggle these seams. Yep, I've got my watch over here, Mr. Kim. I'm prepared. I have to do this because I have been missing Cheeto. Cheeto Puff. Hey. Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. Here he comes. Come on, bud. You were snoozing. Come on up here and see the people. Come on. Yeah, Mao. I know. Mao. Yeah, this is Cheeto. Here you go, bud. Right here. Get out the camera angle. There you go. Like we didn't have time for this. You always have time for Cheeto. Right, Mr. Kim?
Absolutely.
He just brightens our lives like I can't even tell you. And normally he's so full of FOMO. He's right here on the bed of the machine. A lot of times he likes to lay right under here in the bed of the machine. And then we're going to press this out like this. And it looks a little wonky at this point because we haven't sewed on the ends. So here's what we've got so far. I guess it would be like this, all right? And we're gonna lay this out, and now we're gonna sew on those long sides. You see that? Here we go. All right, don't worry if you got a little behind here, that's okay. I just want to show you how the block is sewn together, and we're going to move on to block C, and you can just catch right back up and finish this one later. No worries. I'll tell you what, it takes a lot to get me upset or stressed, because you know what? This is just fabric. This is just fun, you know? We've got time. The videos are going to be there. I'm going to be there for you. It's okay. Hey, Cheeto Puff. Now you really are right in the way.
You asked for it.
Yeah, I'll have to move him a little. Come on, bud. I'm sorry. He just loves to be right in the middle of things. Okay, come on. Let's go see Mr. Kim. Go on, get out of the camera angle. There you go. Come on. Hey, bud. I know. Oh, there you go. All right, but I wanted y'all to see him. He's just so much fun. All right, and then finally, the last seam in this block, and then we're going to hurry over to the press. We're going to press our blocks, and then we're going to get going on C, and we're going to kind of go through a little bit faster on C, but we are going to cover half square triangles, and you're going to be a half square triangle pro.
Go on, Cheeto.
As soon as you see how to use the flying geese ruler for this. All right, so bear with me. All right, and you know what? You have a speed control. I think almost every one of the models has a speed control, except maybe the low models, but that's okay. If you can go at a more moderate rate when you quilt, it makes all the difference in the world. So there we go. It's done. Let's move over here to the press and get these blocks pressed really good. Okay, and I've got this other one here, and is it still hot? Oh, it went off because I just didn't have enough. There we go. Here we go. It's gonna have to heat again. Sorry, y'all. But that's a good feature, because let me tell you, these presses get hot, really hot, and that's a good thing. All right, as soon as I hear it get hot here, I am going to go over there and press, because you need to see it. All right, here we go. We're moving on here. We're past block B. We're now on block C. Here we go. Here's what it looks like. Isn't that pretty? I love this. Love this so much. And I did it in a white version like this, because that's what we're going to use today. You will need, here's what you're going to need. Follow along on your little chart right here. We're going to need a background fabric strip in 2.5 inches. We are going to need your orange, your cherry, your, I think it's called sky. What is it? Sky. And we're going to need our sapphire and our lime. Okay, so we need those strips. You might have had some of those already pulled already. Let's cut what we need from our background fabric.
Somebody wants to know if you always use the hottest setting on your press.
I do. Well, when I'm working with cottons, yes, that's a great comment. And is it hot? It is. It's hot. Let's do that.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
That sort of takes you aside here. And somebody had asked, do you always use steam? And I know you have a really good answer for that one.
Steam is our friend, actually. And I do use steam when I've got my iron on, because steam cures a lot of ills. Yes, it can really cause some distortion, but not if you use it properly. Now here on this, I have the vapor jet right here, and I can give this a quick little spritz, and that's like adding the steam. It gets just a mist of water across your surface, and then when you close it, you just push the handle down, and it will tell you when it's done. It beeps at you. It's totally brilliant, and all the Elna presses do that. And this is just an amazing thing, and it just, I mean, yeah, it's pretty hot, but not that you can't pick it up, and it just gives you such a beautiful block. And like I said, if you're finding your blocks are just a smidgen shy of the unfinished size they're supposed to be, chances are when you press it in the press, it will measure just beautifully. So I love that. Even though I've got this pressed real well, watch what, I mean, I gave it a decent press with that other iron, but watch what happens here. Oh, and I forgot to give it a little spritz, because I like that mist on it. And let me tell you, Mr. Kim likes this because I put creases in his khakis for work, and I can press his white button-down shirts, and even the collars in his polo shirts can get pressed if they get that funny crease. And don't be afraid. You can go right back and give it one more press and wait till it beeps at you. which is amazing. And it will tell you when, and like I said, it does have the automatic shut off, so it won't just burn and burn, you know, keep heating. It will stop. And now look, I mean, it's just a thing of absolute gorgeousness. It's so flat. This will up your game, people, on your quilt blocks. Having these presses like this gives you just these perfect points. And did you notice, I didn't even use any pins to put this together. If you're cutting accurately, if you're sewing accurately, and if you're pressing like this, you can get away without using pins in most blocks. So that's just a fun little thing to share. All right, so because we are running short on time, I am going to cut the half square triangles because we need to see how to use the flying geese and half square triangle ruler, all right? And this ruler, you'll love it. It works with half and whole size strips only. No more needs for cutting 2 7/8 inch squares, 4 7/8 inch squares, whatever. No more 1/8 inches, half and whole size strips. Because of the little lopped off blunt edges on the ruler, that's your built-in 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you can cut everything from half and whole sizes. Everything that you need is right on the ruler, and we will be using this for a lot of different applications in these blocks. But for today, we want side B of the ruler, which means we want the side where you can see side B, see the little half square triangles. And what we're going to do here is we're going to cut 8 2.5 inch side B triangles from our background strip.
So the lopped off edges, those mean that the ruler's broken, right?
It doesn't mean the ruler's broken. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fold our strips so that there's 4 layers, okay? Be bold, you can do it. And I just always want to encourage you to try new things. I'm going to cut off that fold and those selvage edges, all right? Those go over my shoulder for somebody to pick up later, Mr. Kim, but we won't say any names.
I would be happy to.
No, I'm just teasing. Now, I want you to line up side B of the ruler. Can you get in there and see that? And we're using the 2.5 inch line with the little arrow along the bottom of the strip unit, and the edge of the ruler here just lines up with the side that we just cut. Put your pinky on the mat next to the ruler so it won't slide. We're going to cut right here, just like that. And look, there's our beautiful half square triangles. Yes, you will have a lopped off edge that looks just like this. There's 4 of them. We need 8 for this block.
Why the lopped off edge?
That's the built-in 1/4 inch seam allowance, and that's why you don't have to cut a 7/8 inch increment. That's why. So, and plus it makes it really easy to line up with your other units. Now I've rotated the ruler. Let me show you this again. We had it like this. Do not flip it over to side A. It's not a flip, it's a rotate. You want to rotate it 180 degrees away from you. So now you can still read the words. Now they're backwards to me, but not upside down. Does that make sense? And we want to line up the edge of the ruler along that last diagonal edge with the lopped off edge here of the ruler on the bottom of the strip unit, which puts the 2.5 inch line right on the top of your strip. Can everyone see that as your 2.5 inch line? Go ahead and hold the ruler in place and go ahead and cut. And now that's all you need. That's 4 triangles. Now we have 8. We're done with this. Now from our, let me move down here. From the lime and sapphire, we need 4 each of those. So I'm going to take my strip of sapphire and I'm going to take my strip of lime and I'm going to leave them folded together just like they are. I'm going to line these up so I have 4 layers of fabric. Go ahead and trim off the selvage ends, and you can just use your jelly roll ruler. I keep my jelly roll ruler right on my cutting table at all times. It is the most handy dandy go-to ruler you will ever use. You will use it for so much, not just pre-cuts. Now we need, the first thing we need to do is we need to cut 4 2.5 inch squares, okay? And there's 2 of each. We need 2 more. Lay this on here with the 2.5 inch lines. Go ahead and cut 2 more. So now we have 4 of the lime and 4 of the sapphire. All right, now we're still using these strips and we need 4 side B triangles.
What's the name of the triangle ruler?
It's the Precision Flying Geese and Half Square Triangle Ruler. So it's my design. I have it on my website, or I encourage you to get it through your local Janome dealer. And if your local Janome dealer can't get it, they actually can get them from Janome. But reach out to us here or make a comment or something. You can also contact Janome Education, all one word, at janome-america.com, and they can put you right in touch with someone who can ship that right out to you, because they have these rulers in stock. It's my rulers, but you know, I literally you can get it on my website, but I really hope you'll get it through Janome, through your local dealer, or contact Janome Education at janome-america.com. So somebody will follow up with you there to get this ruler to you, or put you in touch with the dealer who can. So here are 2 greens, or 2 limes and 2 sapphire units. And remember, rotate, all right? Don't flip. Line it up on the last cut that you just did, all right? Hold it in place. Keep that pinky off the ruler on the mat so your ruler doesn't slip. And there you go. Our half square triangles are done. Now we're also going to cut some squares. You need 1 2.5-inch orange square, 4 2.5-inch cherry squares, and 4 2.5-inch squares from your sky fabric. Due to time, I have these already cut and ready to go, and we're just going to go over again. Don't worry, got my other Steady Betty here. I've got everything cut and ready, and this is how it's going to go together. But I really want us to get these half square triangles sewn so I can show you how easy they are to make and how much I know you're going to love them. And Mr. Kim, I'm going to hand you all of block B. Okay, let's see, hang on. So we don't have that in the way. Okay, how are we doing? Is everyone doing okay here? Because I'm having a ball. I know it's a little bit past time. We'll maybe take about 10 more minutes. Hang in there with me if you can. Hang in there with us. Now let's work on those half square triangles, shall we? Take another little drink of your iced tea. Y'all are doing so great. I'm so proud of you, really. And let me tell you, I read all the comments. I go back through, try to answer everyone when I can. And I love seeing pictures. So if you can post pictures of your blocks and your progress, I would just love it. All right, so now we've got, I want you to put your background triangles and your solidish triangles, or your lime together, right sides together. When you can, line up the little lopped edges, right sides together. Sometimes you may have cut them so you end up with some that have to go pointy end to lopped off end. You know what? That's okay. It means you have 1 extra dog ear to trim. That's it. Now, you can feed these under your presser foot, either pointy side first or lopped edge side first. It really doesn't matter, and I've done it both ways. I don't really have a preference, other than you need to make sure that your stitching ends right at, and I'm going to see if you can see this. Can you just stand up and kind of lean over? The stitching needs to end right at this point, right here. And I'm going to sew this one and then ask Mr. Kim to zoom in on it, or not zoom in, but hold up the camera so you can see exactly what I mean. I'm going to stitch this. So what I mean is, when you're sewing, don't veer off the edge. Go right to the tip of the lopped off edge. Let's put it right here on the black fabric. Do you see that my stitching goes right to the point here? Some people find that they veer off this way. When they're coming to the end, they kind of just turn off. It needs to go right to that tip. It needs to go to the tip of that lopped off edge, or you can start there, either way. So that when you open this, you have a beautiful squared off edge, all right? So that's what we're looking for. Let's just go ahead and sew those real quick. All right. And Mr. Kim will set the camera back up again. And then when you get a chance, would you get me the handout for the block C when you get a moment, Mr. Kim? Because it shows the pressing directions, and I didn't bring that over. And I wish I could tell you that I remembered the pressing directions for every block just in my head, but even I have to refer to it. I can't keep all that up there. All right, there's all the greens, or the limes. And we're going to go ahead and just take these over and put them on a little pressing surface. Thank you, love. Appreciate it. He is awesome. We have been married, for just some personal information, we've been married almost 32 years. I was so young when we got married.
12?
Oh no, oh no. I was not paying attention and I got my thread caught in. See what happens when I goof off. All right, let's try this again. That's an easy fix. It certainly is. Have you noticed how your Janome machine is like a workhorse? Seriously, these are workhorse machines that just go and go and go and go. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't take them for regular maintenance, like once a year. And so what I do is every year when it's time for my mammogram, guess what? My machines go in for a spa treatment, whether they need it or not. But you know what? It's good to keep them maintained. Your dealer knows how to treat them with kid gloves and get them oiled and cleaned. And even if you're fastidious like I am about cleaning the bobbin casing area every time I change a bobbin, they still need professional cleaning and maintaining so that they will run beautifully for years and years and years and years. So, and it's just good to keep our Janome dealers, you know, just give them our support because they are there for us through all of these times, and we need to be there for them. So, and I just love the people that we have our Janome dealers with. All right, so here we go. Now we're going to press the seams, and we're going to go to, in this case.
You started pulling the cord.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Did I ruin it, honey?
That's right. Well,
so just press the seams. I'm going to press toward the color this time and away from my background because it's light. But if you have a dark background, by all means, press these towards the dark. It's okay. Now, because we are getting a little short on time, let's go over here and talk about what I see. Sorry, he was saying you're short on time, and we are short on time. All right, Mr. Kim, do you think you could walk back over here and look at this so you could just do an over the shoulder shot here?
Everybody get ready for the camera to move.
Sorry. We will get better. We are always striving to improve. All right, assembling this block is so much easier than the last one. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to lay out your cherry fabrics in the middle row. You've got cherries on the end. You've got the sky right here and one orange. Sew this row of 5 squares together, all right? And follow the pressing directions just as shown right here on your handout, all right? And I've got mine pressed exactly that way. Once you get that center row done, you're golden. The next thing you would do is you would sew these 2 units together, a sky and a cherry for your top and your bottom. All right, I've gotten ahead of myself here and finished this portion. But go ahead and sew this and press the seam towards the sky unit. All right, now we've got these 4 patch quadrants. So we have your little half square triangles that we just finished and 2 little squares. So I have a background and sapphire half square triangle, and I have a sapphire square, and I have a lime square and a lime and background half square triangle. Now, you'll have dog ears. The dog ears have to go, all right? They have to be trimmed off. You can either use your jelly roll ruler or your precision pre-cuts ruler to trim them up, but if you sewed accurately, you cut accurately, and you sewed accurately, just get rid of the dog ears. Let me just say this, and I said this to the sew along group the other day. Dog ears are the cellulite of quilting. They give lumps and bumps in your seams that you don't want there. So make sure to trim the dog ears. If you've never been a dog ear trimmer before, you're part of my group now. You have to trim the dog ears. All right, so I just wanted to show you that. Now we're going to go ahead and sew this little 4 patch together. And all we're going to do is flip the square over like this and the little half square triangle over, and now we're going to sew these units like a little 4 patch. And you could again connect the threads. Don't break the threads. Pick up the unit here. That one got a little pressed wonky. Let me fix that because I'm a perfectionist. All right, like that. All right, we're going to come back here. Now I'm going to sew this unit. They're connected. This little 4 patch is connected. You will do this 4 times because there's one that is exactly the same in each of the 4 quadrants, okay? And now we're going to press this seam away from us like this, and this seam towards us like this. And now we're ready to sew this little 4 patch together because it's connected. We know which way it's going to go. I'll fix that little pressing problem there later. See what happens when you hurry. There's an old Amish saying, the hurrier you go, the behinder you get. My mother used to say that. She wasn't Amish, but she had a little Amish plate on the wall that said that. And I've always remembered it. The hurrier you go, the behinder you get. All right, we did that little 4 patch technique. Look what happens when I open this. Perfect point. You will get that every time when you do that little 4 patch that way. So we have our perfect point. We're going to go ahead and just press this towards, the seam goes towards the blue square. Press the seam towards the blue square. All right. And now we lay this out. Now all we're going to do, Mr. Kim, if you'll come over here on this side, all you're going to do is sew this to the cherry and the sky. And we're going to sew this one here, press the seams, and because our seams are pressed towards the orange, we're going to press the seams out towards these little 4 patches, all right? Then you would sew that to this unit and do the same thing down here, and that's how your block is assembled. So that's about it, people. We have completed 3 blocks today. Cheeto, you want to come and say goodbye? Come on, Cheeto Puff. Come on. Come on, baby. Come on up. You got to come say goodbye to everyone. Come on. Here he comes. Come on, sweetie. Come on. Anyway, thank you so much. I know, I bribe him with treats, but there's a lot of times I don't have to bribe him. And in fact, he comes on his own just to be a pest. But that's okay. Here you go, baby. Anyway, we completed 3 great blocks today, block A, B, and C. Don't worry, you can see I couldn't even do it all in 2 hours. Now, we've already gotten the go-ahead to do another block of the month blitz, so we're going to be going on to either the next 2 or 3 blocks. I'm going to look at that and see how many we can get done in the next class. We're going to be posting it. You can join me again here in about 2 or 3 weeks. We're not going to let too much time go because we want to keep going. We want to keep the involvement going. And I know as the summer progresses, people are going to get busy. So we're going to keep going with this blitz format where we can do a couple blocks at a time together. And it's so great that you joined me. I will be going back to read your comments and your questions. Again, you just don't know what a blessing you've been to me to be here in our studio today. Mr. Kim, I hope you've enjoyed this too. You've been doing so great on camera work.
Talk about fun.
Yeah. Anyway, can I get some thumbs up or hearts if you've had fun today, if you've learned something? That's what I want to see. Has anybody learned something today? Give me a thumbs up. I hope people have learned some new techniques, learned some new tricks. The next blocks we're going into get even a little bit more difficult, but not so much that you can't do it. Uh-oh, he's over there sitting on the iPad. Can you see this?
He's probably typing out lots of comments that people can't understand.
Oh no. So anyway, see what we put up with? Thank you, thank you. Thank you to our Janome people for giving of your time on Saturday to be here to answer questions. Thank you for the Janome support in this, for doing this. Hey, any way that we can help you, whether it's to get a kit, to get the fabrics, to get the rulers, reach out in the comments section, reach out to Janome Education at janome-america.com. Reach out to me. I'm happy to answer questions. We will put you in touch with whatever we need to make sure you've got everything you need to follow along. Don't forget, get your handouts at janome.com. It's right on the homepage. Get that all printed out, maybe 3-hole punched for next time. join me again. Ask your friends to join. This has been so much fun. I am already missing you. Wish we could hang out longer together, but thank you for giving of your time. And thank you, Mr. Kim. Can you just give us a wave again?
Both Mr. Cheeto and I say thank you for the time and letting us
truly
be a part of it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we will see you next time. Be watching this week. Oh, and don't forget my Facebook Live on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've got another fantastic done before dinner project to share. More on the press is coming, and Mr. Kim is going to be making an appearance. Yes, more than an appearance. I'm going to get behind the camera for a short segment where he's going to show you how you can customize your foot pedal. So we have got so much coming on Monday. Join us for that, and I'll see you soon. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.
Bye.